You know, they say to never meet your heroes, and I finally found that out when I got to meet Lassie for the first time. Turns out if you fall into a well, she will not save you, unless you smell like bacon. Video games are exactly the same. Just because someone's fighting the good fight doesn't mean they don't deserve a good old-fashioned knuckle sandwich once in a while. With that in mind, I'm Kieronmatron, and here are 5 video game protagonists you just want to punch. Number 5. Snow, Final Fantasy 13.
What? You can't do this. You can't just build something up like that, then abandon me.
Okay, let's get this out of the way before we do the rest of the video. There are a lot of Final Fantasy characters who could do with a bit of a slap. Their hair is ridiculous, their backstories are always amazingly convoluted, and some of them just look like rejects from a toy factory. Kate Sith, I'm talking about you. But that's not what I hate most. What I hate most is the angst. Why are so many of them all so bloody angsty? Whether it's Amaranth grunting his way through a scene, Tidus and his sodding daddy issues, or Squall declaring he doesn't care while scratching his head for the 700th time, so many of these characters need to find some help, preferably far enough away from me that they don't darken my doorstep ever again with their histrionic hissy fits. But for this list, I'm going with the Final Fantasy that almost killed Final Fantasy. FF13 was a mess, a glorified corridor simulator with a cast that read like the entire nominee list for Annoying Prick of the Year award. Okay, except for Zaz, because he has a chocobo in his hair. Not many people are brave enough to pull off decorative poultry, if you ask me. Of all these veritable monkey turds, the worst one here was Snow. It's a perfect storm of annoyance. His girlfriend's just become a cubic zirconia, so you try to cut him some slack. But he's just so damn dramatic, it's like suffering with a Twilight character trapped in a bloody disc. And unlike some of the characters I've mentioned, it's not like he changes for the better or that he has a good weapon. He has fists. How is he gonna save the world? With his stupid fists on his stupid arms, and just because I like the Shiva summon, I have to drag this useless pile of teenage drama along for the ride. I hate you, Snow. Number 4, Bubsy the Bobcat. Literally any Bubsy game ever. Now a few of you might remember the great mascot flood of the 1990s, when every game developer, his grandmother and his pet tortoise Alan, tried to create a memorable furry figurehead for their latest Mario clone. Step up instant punchlines such as Awesome Possum and Rocky the Rodent. So bravo to Accolade, who managed to make Bubsy the Bobcat, a character so annoying that even at a young age I learned what white hot rage was. It's not enough that the game is generic and a bit dull, it's not enough that when he stops he's wearing this shit-eating grin on his face, it's that he talks.
Well, it worked for Clint.
And he doesn't just talk.
That's it, I'm out of here. You can't make me.
It's like he's trying to be a furry Deadpool, but where the merc with the mouth is close to the bone and cutting, Bubsy just comes off as the type of goofy hackney git your uncle was at Christmas after one too many pints.
My contract does not mention paint. Go ahead, make my day. Well, are you still playing this thing?
Still playing this thing? I never wanted to play this thing again. I just needed the footage of you, you smug-looking git.
Hey, I didn't like this stuff.
Oh, and by the way, a special punch to the knackers to whoever made the creative decisions behind Bubsy 3D. A cowpat of a game so unlikable, I'd rather slather my head in honey and headbutt a wasp's nest. Seriously, whoever thought to add the control system from Resident Evil 1 to a platformer should have a permanent kick me sign nailed to his arse. Number 3, Raiden, Metal Gear Solid 2. Okay, let's face it, we gamers are kind of a cynical bunch, but every so often, we get the wool pulled well and truly over our eyes. Not me, however. See, I just planted these magic beans and they're going to yield some very surprising results. Oh, the greatest bait and switch the gaming industry has ever performed. Hideo Kojima has been trying to replicate it ever since, and God knows that weird bandaged head mask will live on forever in my nightmares. But let's face it, he never will. After an amazing relaunch of the Metal Gear series with Metal Gear Solid, expectations were high for the next installment of the franchise. And after a demo which honestly left many fans positively frothing at the mouth, everyone was ready for what was next in Snake's adventures. Unfortunately, we were about to find out, except Snake wasn't the Snake we knew. Instead of the Kurt Russell-inspired chain-smoking badass, we met this kid, green as it gets, and apparently with either a hearing problem or the average maturity of an American Pie character.
There's a terminal in front of the elevator, a node.
Did you say nerd?
Not nerd, node.
Fans disliked him on sight just because he wasn't our Solid Snake. but by the time we had dragged this emo, naked cartwheeling, boy band looking disgrace through Big Shell, he had well and truly earned face punching status, something Kojima even noticed by turning him into a bit of a joke for Metal Gear Solid 3. Raiden did rebound in a major way, coming back as a cyborg badass, but I'd still really love to give his MGS2 version one hell of a kick to the twig and giggleberries. Number 2, Ethan Mars, Heavy Rain. We've had a good time so far, thinking about some playable heroes who could do with a bit of a kicking. And although he's not a hero, Scott Shelby... Wait, we're talking about Ethan? Really? Okay. There's a lot to like about Ethan Mars. He looks after his bird, he's an expert swordsman, and of course, dat ass. But this doting husband slash father slash architect is bound to have a flaw or two, including a pure lack of concentration on his son's whereabouts and the ability to sound utterly brain dead while saying the kid's name.
Jason! Jason! Jason!
After something as traumatic as the death of Jason, it's understandable that this loss irrevocably affects Ethan and his family. With that being said, however, Mr. Mars is letting it take over his life, causing him to withdraw away from his career, his marriage, and especially his youngest child, Sean. Therefore, this isn't so much wanting to punch Ethan as it is a call for anything to help snap him out of this funk, and it shouldn't take his other son being kidnapped by the infamous origami killer to do it. Okay, Ethan does indeed prove that he is a loving and dedicated father who does whatever he can, including cutting his own damn finger off, to save Sean, but let's face it, he does need a bit of a slap when he pauses the search for his slowly drowning child to have sex with a hot woman. For the love of God, man, you can do that afterwards. Jeez, priorities. And number 1, Emily, Until Dawn.
Hannah! What's going on? Where's my sister going?
It's fine. She just can't take a joke.
It was just a prank, Han. What did you do?
We're just messing around, Beth. It wasn't serious.
You jerks!
Well, you know what they say, if a joke doesn't end with hypothermia, it's just not funny. What do you mean the phrase is, hypothermia is not a joke, it's just not funny? I learned all of my humour from the funniest movie ever, John Carpenter's The Thing. So you know I'm the real deal. Now for most people, you'd think that slut-shaming your friend and her sister to their doom would make you a bit nicer as a result, especially when you return to the scene of said horrific incident. Thankfully, this is the case for most of the teenage slasher fodder of Until Dawn, who show that they actually may well have redeeming qualities that can make them somewhat useful members of the human race. This, however, does not apply to Emily, a woman who didn't so much fall out of the bitch tree and hit every branch on the way down, but instead pruned the branches into a cat of nine tails and flogged herself with it like a celibate monk after a wet dream. Whether it's cheating on or berating poor punching bag / boyfriend Matt, calling your former best friend easy as it gets, or simply hearing the immortal words, "It's just a prank, Han," at the beginning of every sodding chapter, Emily is a character that very few people want to see alive, and given that anyone can die in this game, I wouldn't blame anyone for simply refusing to help her when she gets in danger. Or if you want a more direct approach, you can do what I did in my first playthrough, and just shoot her in the head with a casual accuracy that would make most COD players scream themselves in ecstasy. Ah, sweet vengeance, you are mine. And that's the list. What video game characters do you most want to punch and why? Leave it down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe and hit the little bell icon if you want to be notified whenever more lists like this come available. Otherwise, I've been Kieronmatron, and I will see you next time. Take care, guys.